Joining us now with some Washington reaction and to talk about regulating crypto. Arkansas Representative French Hill, Vice Chairman of the House Financial Services Committee and the Chair of the Subcommittee on Digital Assets, FinTech, and Inclusion. Would your statement have been similar to the SEC's or to Gary Gensler's sort of, we're going to do this, but buyer beware. We're still not, completely enthralled with it, and you certainly shouldn't just think it's a slam dunk. You're not going to lose your shirt. That's sort of what I got from the SEC statement.
Hey, Joe, good to be with you. Well, look, Gary Gensler and the SEC could have done this a long time ago. We've had futures on for Bitcoin on the CME since 2017. We've had a futures ETF since 2021. You've had ETFs in Bitcoin outside the United States working quite well. So I really do agree with Hester Peirce, the commissioner, who said this was an arbitrary and capricious process. And so they were compelled to do this, I think, by losing the federal court case. But the reason they turned it down over and over again is they said there was no direct correlation mathematically between the futures market and the spot market. The court said that was wrong. Math says that was wrong. So I think this is good for individual investors to be able to experience and buy Bitcoin through an ETF and not have to try to buy it directly. So that's a positive. But we need a change in the regulatory posture here in Washington, which is why I've authored legislation, bipartisan legislation, to create a regulatory framework that directs the SEC and directs the CFTC exactly how to regulate crypto assets.
And where does that stand, and what are the prospects?
I think the prospects are good because we did get good bipartisan support in the House. That bill needs to come to the House floor. We're working with the Majority Leader's office and the Speaker's office on trying to find time to schedule that on the House floor. We've also written legislation that would give clarity to what is a stable coin. When you take fiat money and buy a tokenized stable coin, what are the rules about that? How can that be effectively regulated by the bank regulators and others? And that also is pending, and we've made progress on that on a bipartisan basis as well. These two pieces of legislation give the foundation to allow innovators, investors, and consumers to have this safe, sound outlook for investing in digital assets and innovating. But we won't really have that comprehensive view, in my mind, until we get this legislation passed.
Do you think that the feet dragging, I guess is what, or it might be foot dragging. I don't know how many you.
Yeah.
Probably only drag one because the other one you're sort of standing up. But the foot dragging of the SEC, do you think the FTX situation or any of the other sort of debacles that we saw in crypto, which really didn't involve the underlying asset, more it involved some of the companies that were operating globally, where there's really no ground rules. Did that sort of grease the skids for some of the bad behavior, do you think? They should have been involved. Because now they're saying, look, buyer beware, you can do this, but we're not enthralled with it. But maybe they had their eye on the wrong, where the risk really wasn't in the first place.
Well, look, members of the House on both sides of the aisle are not impressed with the SEC's oversight of FTX, where we had money lost by individual investors and institutional investors in the United States. Where were they? Where were the cop on the beat there? And so, yes, you're right. If we don't have a framework, we're going to have continued fraud and manipulation in this market, which is why I think the FTX collapse and others that we've witnessed over the last 18 months speak to why we need the regulatory framework. It does two things. It reduces the chance of arbitrary and capricious decisions by the SEC, and it directs them exactly how they should carry on their responsibilities. I think they need that because Chair Gensler doesn't, in my view, appear to be willing to try to do that on his own. So I think legislation is definitely needed.
Do you think there's any residual, just a reason to not want to head this way because it disintermediates established sacred cows in the U.S. economy? I don't know whether Jamie Dimon has looked closely into this. I don't know whether government agencies would protect the the U.S. dollar and its preeminent status. But do you think there's any of that, French, at all? That they like the status quo. There's a lot of people that benefit from the status quo.
Well, I think, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I think you raise a good point, Joe. Look, the status quo is powerful in blockchain, and tokenized payments on a blockchain can be very disruptive. Putting assets on a blockchain can reduce costs, make it more efficient, and make it more reliable, more auditable, more effective, and as I say, lower the agency costs of many different kinds of transactions. JP Morgan itself is experimenting with blockchain and tokenized payments for international settlement purposes. So I think companies of all sizes will benefit from a regulatory framework that lays out the rules of the road for both innovators, consumers, whether you're talking about institutionally or households, and we'll be better off if we get this legislative process put in place on both sides of the Capitol.
Can you explain then to me Jamie Dimon's just recent comments should be outlawed? That was a month ago. Said it should be it just should be illegal to trade in Bitcoin. Can you explain where does that come from?
Well, he may be, I don't know, I haven't talked to him about it personally, but he may be very skeptical about cryptocurrencies and using those at the retail platform or speculating in cryptocurrencies on crypto exchanges. But I think he believes, and I think JP Morgan's work confirms, that blockchain and using tokenized payments in blockchain can lower agency costs and increase efficiency and auditability of transactions on a global basis. And I think that's in the interest of big companies like JP Morgan Chase, but it's also the heart of what innovators are trying to do to, as you say, disrupt the marketplace and make it more effective and better for the future.